Chazak Baruch, Boker Tov, Chazak Baruch, making the minyan. We're in Siman Rish Vav Seif Gimel. So we spoke about, of course, a Jew is not allowed to do melacha on Shabbat. We spoke about commanding a goy. You can't command a goy, and there's different halachot regarding that. We spoke about your items, your kelim. There's no shvitat kelim. So technically, if you rented your vessels beforehand, or you lent your vessels beforehand, even if a goy uses them on Shabbat, we said it's fine. But here, what about your animals? So animals, there is shvitat behema, as the pasuk says, "Leman yanuach shorecha v'chamorecha." Your animals also have to rest on Shabbat. Lo ta'aseh kol melacha ata u'bincha chol behemtecha. So the pasuk also includes your animals, and therefore the Shulchan Aruch rules asur lehaskir o lehashil behemto le'eno Yehudi kedei sheyaseh ba melacha b'Shabbat. It's asur to rent or to lend your animal to a non-Jew, so that he should, and then he'll do melacha on Shabbat. And back in the day, it was very common. You lend your animal for plowing a field, etc. She'adam mitzuveh shvitat behemto, because a person is commanded for also making sure that his animal doesn't do melacha on Shabbat. So it's a deoraita, and maybe a reason that's given to it is so that a person, has his mind off of business on Shabbat, because, maybe there's a deal there that, okay, I'm making, my animal is going to be doing business for this guy who's plowing his field now, so therefore I'll make some benefit from it, etc., to get your mind off of the business for Shabbat. But it's a deoraita. And there's a discussion regarding if the animal is going to be doing something that's asur midirabanan, is that something also that you have to prevent your animal from doing? And Rabbi Avad Yosef rules that yes, that is also something that is something you have to make sure that he doesn't do. Now, let's say you have a dog, right? So dogs, do they do melacha? Right? So like I said, back in the day, you have an ox. They plow. A dog, I don't know, it does melacha. He just sits around or whatever it is. So let's say you give it to a goy over Shabbat to, because you're going away. It's like a dog hotel, whatever it is. I don't think there's an issue with that, because it's not doing melacha. That's the only issue here, is that if the animal is going to be doing, the goy is going to use that animal to do melacha, that's where there's an issue. So here's an interesting question.
What if you were running a dog to guard?
To what?
To guard.
A guard dog. A guard dog. It's a good question. That's a good question. Maybe we'll get to it. A guard dog, meaning if, let's say, it guards the house, it just stands in front of the house. So I don't know if it's doing melacha at that time. Melacha would be something that's asur to be done on Shabbat. So a guard dog, is the guard dog being paid, or is the owner of the dog? You're the owner of the dog. Are you getting rent for it? It seems like the actual act it needs to be a melacha. Like the next case is actually, let's say you have a type of monkey that you could tell, hey, put on the lights, and it goes puts on the lights, right? So it understands things, right? So that you can't tell to do on Shabbat, right? Even if, so it says here, interesting, that before Shabbat, you can't tell a goy before Shabbat, okay, when Shabbat comes, put on the light. It doesn't help, but he has to do it on his own, etc., for his own benefit. So, but for an animal, it does, if you have that type of animal. So I don't know about a guard dog, but we'll see if we will get into it a little bit more. If it has to be actual melacha. So the Rama continues, just to finish up the Rama, the Shulchan Aruch, and then we'll get into it more over next week, B'ezrat Hashem, that you could rent your dog, or rent your animal, lend your animal, but as long as they bring it back to you before Shabbat, and if they say that, well, don't worry, I'm going to make sure your animal doesn't work on Shabbat, we don't believe the Eno Yehudi is Eno Ne'eman, the non-Jew is not believed for that. And if, the Shulchan Aruch says, if let's say you've lent your animal or rented your animal, and he's supposed to bring it back to you before Shabbat and he didn't, for whatever reason, then do a hefker, beno ben atzmo, say, okay, my animal is released from my ownership, or say that my animal is owned now to the non-Jew, in order to make sure to save yourself from a sin, a Torah sin, because your animal is not supposed to work on Shabbat. And certainly, though, that it's another way of doing hefker is doing it in front of 3 people, telling them my animal is by the goy who's supposed to bring it back to me, and I know he's going to do melacha with it, and I'm releasing my ownership. That's another way. It says the Rama, another person can't go and now acquire that animal. It's still somewhat owned by the original owner, and the kavanah is just to release it from ownership, not to do the avera. And lastly is that this is only asur on over Shabbat, but over Yom Tov, there's no isur shvitat behema. We'll talk more about the details next week. Mincha tonight at 5:30, and also today we're going to be heading to the cemetery at Pardes Shalom for the Shloshim of Mr. David Alfasi. It's not right after Tefillah. The time to meet at the cemetery is 9:15. If anyone is able to make it, that would be greatly appreciated. Have a good day, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. Tana